here we go. Okay. The stream was never taken live.
Yeah.
And it's live now.
So you can see us and hear us?
It's gonna be a little bit of a delay.
Testing, testing. We're hoping you can see us and hear us before we can get started. Brother Keegan is thinking about what he's going to say for the opening prayer.
Here it goes. It's
Okay.
coming. Come on.
I think we're about there, getting closer. Thanks for your patience, everyone.
What's that?
It's good on this end,
Yours coming up?
The wheels of technology are high speed at a low
yeah.
adoption rate.
Well, there we go.
Yep, your volume's coming through.
Okay.
We did it.
Nice.
Thank you. We wanted to stay true to our start right on time at 7, so you're getting about a 10-minute delay at home. Maybe not. It may be close to
Well,
live,
we lost
but
one person in the queue.
okay. So stick with us.
That's probably me.
We'll take those numbers.
I think we've got it going and we're ready to go. So thank you everybody for joining us. We have a few here in the audience that will be excited to ask some questions. And if you would like to ask a question from where you're streaming, you could text Parl Johnson. Your phone number is
940
940
435
435
9251.
9251. And when we get to some questions and answers, we'll send you that information again. So if you have any questions you want to text, turn it over. So we're going to have a quick prayer to get started, and then we're going to turn the time over to, we have a wonderful support crew from our Orem Police Department to start it off. So we'll have a prayer by Brother Keegan, and then Lieutenant Spieth will give us or Scott will give us the introductions and get us going from that standpoint. Okay, here we go.
Dear Father in heaven, we're grateful to be here today. Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the nice weather and be able to be here with the Orem Police Department. We're grateful for the way they support us and protect us, and we're grateful for the country we live in. Heavenly Father, we're mindful of those that may feel fear, and we pray that they'll be able to feel comforted. And we love thee and say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
I'm getting a red light. Are we still good? Okay. So I appreciate this opportunity. It's good to be with everybody tonight. I appreciate Mark and his efforts to coordinate this. Really quickly, my name is Lieutenant Scott Spieth. I've been with Orem for about 13 years. I've worked with a couple of different agencies. I've been in a couple capacities where I've worked out of state, worked with some federal agencies, and I can tell you, through my experience, the group we have right now in our investigations division is probably some of the best investigators I've ever worked with, and I'm grateful to have a chance to work with them. Tonight, we've got things divided into two sections. We're going to have a couple of the investigators that are looking into some of the incidents that have happened here on the south end of town. They're going to discuss a few things there, and then we have a couple of other detectives that are going to talk about some tips on how we can collectively improve the safety opportunities we have here. Before I hand the time over to Sergeant Luang Swasdi, I just want to say a few words really quickly. We live in an incredibly safe city. For the population amount that we have here, for the amount of people that we have traveling through our city, we live in a really safe part of this country. That being said, we're not exempt from problems. And so I just want everyone listening to understand, for us, we sell a product, and the product that we sell is safety. And at the end of the day, if the citizens of our city cannot feel safe in their home, then we want to make sure we're addressing that. So we would appreciate anyone's willingness to reach out. If you have concerns, please call our dispatch. If there's anything at night that goes bump and it concerns you, that's our job. It's our job to make sure that those kind of things are being looked at. And so please have confidence. Call if there's a concern. Don't hesitate. So that being said, I'm going to hand things over to Sergeant Luang Swasdi, and we will go from there. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Brian Luang Swasdi. I'm with the Orem Police Department. I've been with Orem for about 7 years. Prior to that, I was with another department for another 7 years, so I've been around for a little while as well. I just want to reiterate what the lieutenant said about Orem being the safest place here not only in Utah, but probably in the country. He's 100% right. And I've worked at other departments, and just like every other city, we have crime. We all have crime. We have crime on different levels. That's the only the difference in the factor. So we do live in a very safe place of town and a safe part of the state. So that's an excellent thing. And the citizens are awesome here. I mean, I've never worked with a better group of citizens in a community like I do here. It's just outstanding. So I greatly appreciate that. We are going to go over bits and pieces of what's been happening over here on the south end. I understand that you will have some questions, and that's understandable, but please also understand that it's still an active case and an active investigation. So there may be questions that we cannot answer for you due to that fact, due to the case is still active and we're still working it. So we gladly welcome all your questions, but just keep in mind that there probably are going to be some that we cannot answer. And if we can't, we're just going to tell you straight up, we can't answer that because it's an active case. But at the same time, we're going to try to address all of your concerns and make as much as we can available to you. So I'm going to have Detective Dan Johnson come up, and he's gonna continue on the case that we've got going.
So I'm Detective Johnson. I'm the one that's assigned to investigate these couple of, I guess, incidences that we had. Briefly, I'll go ahead and go over the cases. Sometime between March 4th and March 5th that night, there was a home that was entered by an unknown individual at this time, and he identified himself with some of the occupants in the home as being a firefighter, and we're not sure how long he was inside the home, and took, as of right now, nothing of value was taken from the home. At least it's been reported to us. And then later that day, we got another report of a similar incident a few blocks away, where a screen was missing from a garage window, and then there was a handprint on that window, which was similar to kind of the first residence that we were at, where the screens were missing, and there were a couple of handprints on some of the windows. There was no forced entry into the house, so the individual, it's not like he broke in a door or broke a window out, anything like that. There were no signs of any forced entry. He attempted some of the windows. We're not 100% sure as to how he gained access, and we have some ideas with it, but it wasn't like a violent entrance. And then also with it, there was no violence that occurred inside the home. The individual actually, in what's been reported, was very polite with the individuals in the house when he interacted with them. So there's no threat to safety or anything along those lines with it, at least what's been reported to us. And that's kind of as much information as we can give out right now on the investigation. Like Lieutenant Luengswazi had said, Sergeant Luengswazi had said that it's still an active case. We are still following up with leads on it, and looking into some suspects and things like that. So, turn it back to you. And
Is there any other? Have there been any other events like it, days before or days after, or anywhere nearby?
No. So those were our only two reported incidents. Was that night, and there was only just the one home that was reported that was entered. The other one was only an attempt, and when that actually occurred, we're not even sure as to when that attempt had happened.
Is there any evidence or anything as to what their motive was, or anything else?
Right now, not 100% sure with it. Like, we have some theories behind it, but it's not stuff that we're wanting to discuss yet. But there wasn't anything prior to that in this area of town or other areas under any sort of similar circumstances. nor have we had anything reported since then that's similar to this. So we don't have any reports that there's somebody that's out there preying on, targeting specific people, age groups or anything like that.
So not common here, kind of an outlier.
Mm-hmm.
And not just here in South or Southwest, but
Anywhere in the city, we haven't had any other
This is
reports. This is kind of an exclusive one-time event right here that we don't have any other reports anywhere similar.
Lucky Lakeview.
And honestly, we can't 100% say that one was linked to the other or the other was linked to the other, honestly, right now. I mean, we are investigating both of them as happening on the same the same time frame, and there are similarities in both situations, but we honestly can't say right now that the person who broke into the one house that actually got in is the same person that attempted to break into the other house. So they may potentially be two different people. We are still in the process of figuring that out, honestly. Any other questions about the case or anything else that anybody has? Anybody texting questions?
Not yet.
We can come back to questions.
We can come back to questions too, absolutely. And yeah, we'll come back to questions, but I think I'm going to turn it over to Detective Weech and Detective Hadlock. They're going to go over some measures that people can take to make sure that they're safe, make sure that their homes are safe, make sure that their neighborhoods are safe, and they're going to go over that. So I'll give it up to Detective Weech.
Thank you. So I'm Detective Weech. This is Detective Hadlock. We've currently been assigned to the COP unit, which is a new unit to the department. It's community-oriented policing. So what we do is we go around and interact with businesses, interact with residents, and try to build that gap between the police department and the citizens to bring us together to be able to work better together rather than against each other. So it's new to us, so we're kind of still working out the bugs. We've only been in this unit for what, 6 months?
Yeah.
About 6 months now. So we're still figuring some things out, but I think once we get the hang of it, I think it'll do really well here in Orem, especially with the way the citizens interact with us. I can't think of any other place I'd rather be a police officer right now. I definitely looking at places back east and stuff. This is definitely a good community to be doing policing. So we appreciate you guys quite a bit. In regards to keeping yourself safe, I'm going to ask you guys questions, so it's not just me talking the whole time. I like that better. I taught traffic school for numerous amounts of years. I'm not going to say how long, but I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and then we can kind of build some topics and discussions from that. As far as in your mind, what do you guys do to keep your homes safe, or what do you guys feel is most important in keeping your house safe?
Lock the doors.
Okay, locking the doors,
windows.
closing windows. So
Street lights help quite a bit.
Okay.
Seems like the street lights have been good.
and that was something that was implemented. That was back in late 90s, right? I moved here in, well, if I disclose that, I guess that tells how old I am, but moved here in 97, so yeah. So I've been here since 97, and I remember when those did go into place, that was definitely quite helpful. So locking our doors, is that something we do all the time? I mean, I know we kind of feel safe here in Happy Valley, that there's not a lot of stuff that goes on here, so it's like, oh yeah, just wait for the kids to get home, or waiting for so-and-so to get home. I'm just gonna leave the door open until they get back. Does that kind of go through our mind sometimes? We just leave it unlocked, or is that changed now? Don't be shy. There's not a lot of us in here. We can all speak up and talk.
My mom was from California, so we lock everything.
You lock it. Hey, there you go. That's good. You know, having that mindset of just coming in and locking the doors. I'll let my dog out to go to the bathroom, and the second she comes back in, it's just lock the door. I don't even hesitate about not locking it. You know, my kids, on the other hand, that's a different story. Locking the doors, lights. Can you elaborate on like lighting besides just the street?
Outside lights, you know, leaving your porch light on at night.
Okay.
Or your garage, and keep your garage door closed. I kind of leave mine open when I'm home, but I probably should.
Yeah.
Close it.
And that's where we tend to have, we do have daytime thefts, and that's one of those where leaving the garage door open can attract people. I know up in my neighborhood, I live up in Lehigh, that became a problem where people felt really safe being in their neighborhood and like, oh, just leave my garage door open. But what that does is it opens up opportunity for the bad guys to say, hey, I know a great spot to go hit. They always leaving the garage doors open. Let's go up to this location. And then we have a rash of burglaries. It's usually not just one. There's numerous that happen throughout the night. So you're actually attracting people to your neighborhood by doing stuff like that. I've got home from working graveyards before. I've noticed garages have been open in my neighborhood. If I don't have their phone number, I've actually gone as far as going into their garage, pushing it, and then running out and hopping over the sensor to close it for them, and then I'll tell them the next day. But that kind of brings up another topic of how well do you know your neighbors? I mean, it seems like nowadays kind of everybody's kind of, oh, hey, yeah, somebody moved in, and we're not as friendly as we used to be, where, you know, bake some cookies, go over there, introduce yourself, exchange phone numbers, whatnot. But I think having each other's backs by knowing them, first of all, knowing their contact information, so if something does, come about, like a burglary or some emergency situation, that you are able to say, hey, I have Joe's phone number, I give him a call, he left his garage door open, and then just call him and say, hey, you left your garage door open, and they can come out and close it if you don't feel like being, going into somebody's garage and closing it for them. I wouldn't suggest that. At the time I was in uniform, so I felt a little bit safer. But locks, lights.
A big thing with lights too is motion lights. I mean, if you have something that hits motion and they look up and see a bright light, they could think it's a camera. They could think, and so that can definitely deter people from even being around there.
Definitely the motion lights and they're fairly easy to install.
Oh, yeah.
If you have some older equipment on your home, you can just call an electrician, they can come out. Or if you have a buddy that knows a little bit about that stuff, they can come out and do that to your home. Especially if you're in an older house, sometimes even the locks aren't up to par. Like some of these lever locks are not as high tech, I guess, as they can be. Deadbolts, adding a deadbolt to any type of door is going to definitely help protect your house as well. What else am I forgetting, Mikkel? Because I'm sure I'm. Oh, question.
A couple questions.
Yeah.
What type of home security, if any, do you recommend? Generally speaking, what types of security systems are best?
If you can repeat the question too, so they can get.
Okay, so the question was, what type of security systems would we recommend as far as in general
related to that for older people?
Okay, there's numerous amounts of companies out there, ranging from ADT to Vivint to whatever they have to offer. I guess. What's that? North Star. There we go. So, I think any basic alarm system does help. Even just having a sticker on your windows or your doors is an active deterrent. Because that person's not going to know, is this alarm system set up? Is it not set up? So just having that could be a deterrent. Having that little ADT thing stuck in your front yard could help as well.
And it helps our reaction time as well, our patrol, to get to that house location. Because if we get an active alarm, say you sleep through it, you don't hear your alarm, that alarm company should call us. And then we can get a patrol officer there within 5 minutes if they're not busy.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if it's a active alarm, then we can do what we need to do and do that. If it's a false alarm, you know, we get those quite often too, but we still respond the same. So we'd rather they be false alarms, but they still happen. So
yeah, and that brings up another point: is if you do decide to go with an alarm company, we do require that you register that alarm with the city. So you go into orem.org /alarm permit, and then it'll give you all the information there where you can log that. It gives us contact information, so if there is an alarm and you happen to not be home, then we're able to get responsible parties out to respond to your residence if there was a glass break or a door broken in, for stuff like that.
You can also go into the PD and fill out the alarm. If you'd rather not do it online, you can go in and fill it out as well.
Why don't you go over some alternative methods for older people who aren't tech savvy as far as securing windows?
Yeah, we could do that too. It's, as far as if what Sergeant said was going over some, I guess, preventative things for older people that aren't so tech savvy with alarm systems and things like that. I mean, your basic stuff would be windows with breaker bars. You can take the little, broom stick and stick it in the dowels and stick it in the window, stick it in the floor. I remember,
especially screen doors. I feel
yeah,
like those are a big one that you always want to put a dowel in because they can very easily be opened.
Yeah, those glass doors, the screen doors, definitely. Even having a storm door on your front door, that's an added thing of protection. I remember back in my days, my parents' days, you had the little bar that you would stick up against. Do you remember those that you'd stick underneath, up against the door, and then you'd kick it, take it in there? I don't know if they still make those or not, but that is definitely another option that you have for doors to keep them secure as well. What other questions do you have for us?
Another question was, is it a good idea, is it effective to use home lights on at night, have home lights on at night?
Yes,
Interior?
definitely.
I assume they meant interior.
And exterior.
Yeah.
And the motion lights outside.
I would say definitely have an inside and outside. I mean, where you kind of get into that where, okay, am I just going to leave the light on all night, or what you can do, a cheaper alternative is going to Home Depot, Lowe's, getting one of the timer, and then you can set it for your porch and set it so, okay, hey, it starts to get, at dusk it's this time, when it's dawn it's this time, and then you can set it so it'll just go off at that time. You don't have to worry about it. So having timers, lights is definitely a good option to have, along with what Detective Hadlock said, the motion lights would help.
Okay. I'll give everybody 2 guesses who asked this question. Should we be bearing arms, baseball bats, be trained in yoga and mace? Anyone?
I'll let Detective Hadlock.
That's a personal decision. So
repeat the question.
I think you can hear me back there. I'll ask him.
Basically, protecting yourself in your home.
Right.
Yeah, it's always a good idea, but if you do these preventative measures, then you shouldn't have to, more or less. But I mean, the home is the most protected place, and so you have a right to protect your home inside, and so.
Whatever it is you get, be comfortable with it. Make sure you don't use it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want to go beyond what you're comfortable with.
Yes.
Because then it makes you less safe as well as the people that are around you. So,
nunchucks?
I would say, if that's nunchucks and you feel comfortable, yeah.
I'm not sure what yoga was.
The yoga could have, that's a de-stressor. So after you have the incident, then you can go back to yoga. So.
Detective Weech, you want to touch on if they do have home defense, what should do when we're responding to something like that?
So if you do have a home defense weapon and you happen to be on the phone with dispatch, I would definitely, when you're talking to dispatch, I would say, hey, I'm wearing a black shirt with green pants. I'm armed with a shotgun. You know, let officers know so that way when we get on scene, we know, hey, homeowner's at his house. He's got a green, pants on, black shirt. And then if we get there and we happen to encounter you, if we draw down on you, the best thing to do is to drop the weapon. We don't want you to have the weapon when we get on scene.
And our dispatch has questions that they, in that situation, that they go off of and what they need to ask and tell you to do, and so they're trained in that way as well. So.
And they'll most likely tell you, hey, the officers are arriving, put the gun in a safe place, that way you don't end up becoming, part of the problem as well. So.
Okay. Another person asked it sounds like the person that broke into these homes in our area claimed to be a firefighter. How can I determine whether an individual is being legit or not?
Our firefighters would make an announcement. Or we would. I mean, we usually get there same time. And if we have an open door or whatever, we're going to make an announcement into that house. Say, hey, it's the Orem Police Department. Hey, it's the fire department. This is why we're here. This is the issue. We're going to make announcements. And so
do you usually
I
have
think
lights on at the time? Do you see flashing lights or anything with fire or?
Did you want to ask that?
It depends on the situation. If it's an active situation, we may not pull right up front with lights on, but it just depends.
So I will say this, if they are hesitant or they have questions about if it's a firefighter or a police officer or whatever the case may be, just know that police officers we will always be in full uniform. We will always be identified by our uniform and the uniform we are wearing, as well as our fire counterparts. They will always be clearly identified by their fire gear that they wear, their shirts, pants, turnouts, coats, jackets. They will always be clearly identified by fire or police. And if you do have any questions about who's showing up at your home, absolutely call 911 and ask. Like, there's nothing that doesn't say you can't call and verify that it's actually us at your home. And we are not at all going to be hindered by that or disturbed by that. If you feel more comfortable because you don't think that it's really us in a uniform at your door, call 911, because the dispatcher on the phone is going to be able to tell you, yes, absolutely, I've got 2 officers that are standing at your front door. They are legitimate. Because I know that some
for fire as well.
correct,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Typically, if fire is responding, officers will respond as well.
Yeah.
So we all dispatch from the same dispatch center, and so we typically will respond anytime that our fire department's responding.
So yeah, we will all be clearly identified. But if they do have any questions, they can absolutely call 911, talk to our dispatchers, and they can verify that.
As it relates to the situation in our neighborhood, there was report, and I don't know if it's true or not, that the intruder cut the power and cut the phone lines or something. Can you elaborate on if that
We can move.
happened?
Yeah, we can move over here so you guys.
Thank you.
So we don't have anything that shows that the power was cut. That was reported. There was not anything that shows necessarily that they cut power lines or anything like that to gain access into the house. So, then
they could turn on lights and.
Well, we will say this, that once they were inside, they turned off the electrical, they flipped all the breakers off in the house. So that's why there was no power in the home when we got there, and also when the homeowners were there, because the breakers had been switched off.
Yeah, there wasn't anything that they turned, disconnected power lines or anything like that. It was just they had turned off breakers.
Okay, what do you think, you guys? What else you got?
I'd ask you the second bishop's question, but it's not what
He's on that.
He's medicated. No, his question is kind of relevant. Do you recommend hidden cameras for people who are more interested in macing the bad guys than they are to deter?
Do we recommend hidden cameras for macing people? No. No, we don't. Do we recommend cameras in home security? Absolutely. Because it helps us in the end. It helps us identify suspects, and we have a network that we use to put out profiles and pictures of potential suspects. And neighboring agencies, you know, I could have an agency to the south of us that knows an individual off of a picture because he's dealt with them numerous times. So we network between counties. So absolutely, as home security, as far as video, it's great if you can afford it, and you can if you're tech savvy enough to use it. Nowadays most things are so simple. You just plug them in and they run over the internet. It's pretty simple for the most part nowadays.
And along the lines with hidden versus not, that being in the open is a deterrent. And the same thing like with lights and motion lights and all that. You know, seeing a lot of homes that have Ring doorbell cameras or cameras that are visible on the outside is a deterrent to people that are out committing crimes, because they can see that as a way that they can be caught, they can be recognized. So having things visible, you know, in and of itself really helps. And it helps us on the other end. You know, after that incident, that day we were out walking the neighborhoods looking for homes that have cameras, looking for homes that have doorbell cameras, to go and contact them to see if, you know, if there's anything that they had picked up, you know, throughout the night.
And that's what I was gonna say is it won't just help you, it'll help your neighbors.
Yep.
The amount of times we use cameras not from that house is a lot.
So all these things are just, they're visual deterrents for crime. Like if a potential burglar is looking for a victim in a neighborhood, they're gonna choose the house that's dark and it's not lit up where they can hide easy. That's what they're gonna choose. They're not gonna go to the house that has the porch light on and the garage light on, and then they see the Ring doorbell that glows every time someone walks in front of it and it picks up motion. They're gonna pass right by those houses. They're gonna look for the opportunity of somewhere dark where no one's gonna see them, and that's what they're looking for. So that's why, like Detective Weech was talking about, like exterior lights, amazing. Nowadays you can get bulbs that you just, like, they're auto-sensing. They auto-sense dusk and dawn. You just plug them in, turn the power on, and they do it by themselves. It's easy. And it doesn't cost that much money as far as wattage use, because of they really are. I mean, they don't really use that much power anymore as traditional bulbs used to back in the day. So, I mean, me myself, I've got lights on all over my house, and that's just me. And I'm sure Detective Johnson is the same way. He's probably got lights all over his house. We all have cameras all over our homes, but that's just the nature of who we are and the business that we're in. So if you can afford it and you're tech savvy enough and you want to walk down that road of home security, absolutely. But there are other methods that you can use that don't cost any money, or a fraction of the money that you would be spending, that are worth just as well.
Somebody made a comment about, sorry, was I interrupting?
No, you're good, go ahead.
Somebody made a comment about posting about your travels and journeys on social media. Have you found that to be an issue at all in this area, or repeat the question?
The question was, do you think posting about your travels and your journeys on social media is a problem or a potential problem? Could it be a potential problem because social media is so open and everybody looks at it? Honestly, yes, it could. Do we see that here? No, we don't. I mean, anything you post on social media is a potential, it could be a potential issue or a problem.
Especially what the bishop posts.
And there's additional ways with social media to protect yourself, not having your accounts public that anybody can see it, you know, turning things private so it's only friends or, you know, people that you associate with or know that are able to see those kind of things. You know, that's also a help with it, with social media.
And also along the same lines as vacations and things like that. I mean, if you're gonna be out of town and you're worried about your home and you're not sure that your neighbors are gonna be taking care of your property and watching it for you, like when I leave town, I count on my neighbors to the sides of me to watch my house for me. And if anything happens, they usually give me a ring and tell me what's going on. And that's what I really count on. But if you don't have that in your neighborhoods and you're worried about your homes, I mean, you can definitely call the police department and say, hey, I'm going to be out of town for a week. Would you mind setting up like an extra patrol through my neighborhood just to drive by at night, make sure that nobody's, messing with my home or anything like that? And we're more than happy to do that for the community and for the neighborhoods. So that is an option if people are worried about it. But we push neighborhood interaction. That's what we push. Community and neighborhood interaction. We want the neighborhoods and the communities to be involved. I mean, yeah, you want to have your own personal space and your personal life, but at the same time, you all live in the same neighborhood. You all want to protect each other's investments and your children and everything else like that. So that's what we really push, is the community involvement.
With summer coming up, it seems like there's a little bit of an increase in vandalism and car break-ins. Anything that we need to prepare for that?
Not necessarily prepare for, but along the same lines as your home, lock your cars at night. Don't leave valuables in your car at night. I mean, thieves look for opportunity. That's what they look for. If they're out running around in the middle of the night and they walk past a car and they see a $1,000 laptop sitting on the seat, they're going to bust the window and take it. So, common sense, take everything inside, take your valuables inside, and lock your cars. It just deters the crime. And obviously, if you've got a carport light or a garage light or whatever the case may be where you can put a light on your vehicles, that's going to keep them from even coming over anyways.
Securing is the key with it, because like Sergeant Langswazi was saying, most our criminals are ones of opportunity. So seeing things left out, whether it's a car unlocked or a bicycle, sitting on a front lawn or things like that, they're going to pick it up and take off with it, just because it's there. We are in a real safe area. We don't have a lot of those forced entries where they're going in looking for stuff. It's the opportunity that it presents itself because they're right there, and this stuff's left out, or it's left unlocked, or the garage is open. That's where those crimes happen.
Not sure to express the question. I know that the people have different levels of fear, and there's all kinds of different factors that can go into how you deal with that. I know you can drive through some cities in California, Nevada, and whatever, and people have gated windows and metal bars and all kinds of other things, and then you have expensive alarm systems that for older folks in the ward may be pretty costly. Given the fact that our area is fairly safe, is there like a sweet spot where you can say we're getting the best bang for our buck if we put up the motion lights and we have some fake cameras and go through all those steps to make sure that we've done all the least expensive things? Is that a really comfortable place for us to be in our community, or is considering the more expensive alarm system providing a ton more benefit?
What you can financially afford is probably your best option. Lights is going to be a big thing, and then those simple things to deter, like we've discussed. Locking cars, locking doors, keeping garages shut, keeping items, valuables out of sight, bicycles picked up, not left out front. That's a lot of it that will be, and then having lights as a deterrent is a big factor with it.
Honestly, in the community that we live in, you don't need high-tech security systems. You don't need bars on windows. We don't live in Compton, in Los Angeles. Like, we honestly, the community live in a very safe community. We work in a very safe community. Like, my wife doesn't worry about me coming to work and getting shot like if I was in Vegas or Los Angeles. We just don't have those issues here, and we don't have those problems here. So hopefully, to answer your question, do you need bars on windows? No, you don't, to keep perpetrators out. If you have like window wells, it's always a good idea to secure them so that nobody falls into them. But as far as bars on windows and going to the extreme on home security, no, we don't live in an area where you'd need that. The basic preventative measures are what you're going to need here, like throwing dowels up in your windows, just locking doors, turning on lights, just like Detective Johnson was saying. That's what we need in this community, because we haven't, and we're not going to hit the level where people should be afraid in their home, and that's not what we want. They should not at all be afraid to be in their home, and that's rising above the level where we even are. And I want to stress that we're not even close to that level. People are in this community are safe. They're very safe.
Cool.
That cover it?
I have
Yeah.
a question. So, a few years back, there was an adult with Down syndrome that was in the neighborhood visiting some people, and he went out for a walk and then got lost, and then he actually like opened up my front door and was coming into my house, and I was, not totally like freaked out, but like I was just kind of confused, like who's coming into my home.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see that happening with just anybody in the population that might have, mental issues, like, mentally unstable. They may be on medication, or they may have other issues like that where they might get lost, or if someone is entering your home, it's like, how do you kind of like approach that situation? What would be the best thing to do? The safest thing to do?
Well, you always want to keep yourself safe. Well, first off, your door would be locked, so they wouldn't go in the house in the first place.
Yeah.
So, barring that happening, if someone does walk into your house, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to want to get yourself and your family away from whoever that is. Lock yourself somewhere, and then call us. Call 911, and then just wait. Lock yourself in a bedroom, bathroom. Make sure you've got all your family members with you, everybody that you love, and just let them know, hey, someone just walked into my house. I've locked myself in the bathroom with my family. Stay on the phone with dispatch. Wait for us to get there, because it's only going to take us, it's not going to take us very long to get there. It's something like that, 60 seconds tops. Like, we will be there. So the main purpose is protect yourselves. Don't try to engage whoever's coming in your home. I mean, absolutely not, because you have no idea what their mental status is, or if they have any weapons or anything to that sort. So, I mean, if you see someone entering your house, absolutely grab your family, go to the bathroom, lock yourselves in, take a cell phone, call 911, and wait. Protect yourselves. I mean, if you have the proficiency to protect yourself and you are armed, you can, by all means, defend your home and your family from anybody that's actively attacking you or your family. And that's your right by the Constitution. But we want everybody to be safe, not just you and your family, but we want whoever's breaking into your house to be safe as well, because we're here to protect not only you, but we're here to protect the bad guys as well. I mean, that's our job. That's what we have to do.
So if someone is in your home, and let's say you did have the means of defending yourself, would you advise that you call out to the person and tell them to leave because like they're trespassing, and that, or would you just remain silent? Because like if you say like, hey, I'm armed, I know how to defend myself, leave my house immediately, you're trespassing, does that give you an advantage? Because maybe someone would just perhaps leave rather than...
Potentially, or they could run at you, and you don't know if they have a weapon or not, because now you've just identified to them where you are.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Because you're yelling out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I see where you're going with the question, and in some terms I agree with you, because you want to give them some kind of verbal, cues. Hey, get out of my house. I know you're here. I have a weapon.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, that can turn on you.
Okay.
And you just don't know who's coming in your door.
Right.
I mean, you honestly don't. So I would always err on the side of keeping yourself and your family safe before anything else. That's what I would suggest. And I don't know, Detective Weech and Detective Johnson and Hadlock, they may have different views, but I think we're all on the same page as far as we want to make sure you and your family are protected first and foremost. I mean, that's why we're here. Protect yourselves, call us, and let us deal with that. Because the potential is he could have a firearm, he could have anything, and we don't want anybody getting hurt.
We did have one more question online. A lot of homes have doors with glass in them, glass panels next to the doors, and windows accessible from the ground or a deck. How dangerous are these? Can they be made safer?
Everybody has, my home has glass like that. And honestly, are they a danger? No, they're not. They really aren't. And you just secure, as far as it's just a single pane of glass next to the doorway, I mean, there's really no way to secure that, honestly. But any slidable window, I would say you could put in, window stop locks, or you can put in dowels to stop them from opening. And there's different techniques that you can use as far as securing windows. But again, I want to stress, and it sounds like people are concerned about street level windows and people accessing them. I want to stress again, this incident on the south end is a secluded incident. We don't have this happening all the time. I mean, since I've been here, this is the first actual home invasion where somebody's actually broke into a house. And I've been here 7 years. So that's got to tell you something. We don't live in that kind of a community. We really don't. We don't want people to be overly panicked than they really need to be, because that panic doesn't need to be there. We just want them to have basic safety. Just basic general safety. Lock your doors, turn the lights on. I mean, that is what's going to protect this community, honestly. And we have guys out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, running through neighborhoods. And I'm sure people see them driving through neighborhoods through here, especially at night. So if anything does have the potential of happening, we've got guys that are going to be there in a matter of minutes. Does that answer? Yeah.
Did you want to mention the report of the individual that was spotted?
We can.
So
the reason I bring that up is just to the delay.
Yeah.
So on the morning of the 5th, when we were kind of finishing up at the residence where the actual burglary had occurred, somebody had driven by and informed us that there was an individual they had seen earlier that was hiding behind a tree. With things like that, if you notice something like that that's not normal, you need to call into dispatch and let them know. Once we were informed, we went and drove the area to try and find the individual, and we couldn't find anybody. But there was a delay behind that. Whereas if that would have been reported immediately, we had officers who were on scene that we could have sent to that area, or things like that. So when you see something suspicious, just report it right away. Don't wait and try and figure out, well, how severe was it, or should I have? If it seems odd, just report it. It's our job to come out and investigate it, and it's not a big deal for us. Like, we're not going to be upset because somebody called and somebody was hiding in a bush, and maybe it's the neighbor kids and they're out playing around. It's not a big deal for us. We'll come and investigate it the same way. But it's a lot harder for us on that other end where there's been that delay to come out and try and investigate that, if it is related to something else or not.
So can I ask a completely irrelevant question then?
Sure.
Do you guys have favorite video games?
My kids have favorite video games.
Any favorites at all? Sega Game Gear.
Sega? Wow. Atari.
Do you actually play shoot 'em up video games?
Did he say Sega?
Nintendo 64.
I said Atari, so.
That's right. Oh.
Coleco, whoa.
Yeah, I play shooters.
Cool.
Yeah. My kids play shooter games. I attempt to play, but they slaughter me within like seconds. I'm no competition.
Everybody watching, are we good?
There's still 32 online.
Wow. Okay. Anything else, or do you think we covered it? Are we missing anything?
I don't have any more questions here.
Okay, let's hear it for the officers. We really appreciate you coming out and helping to, give the word of wisdom and advice and all the good information. Plus, the full show of force, we really appreciate all of you and what you do. We know you've got families and a lot of stuff going on. So thank you for taking time out of your evening schedule to come and be with us. And I'm sure it was very helpful to our neighborhood and people interested in understanding better, and appreciate all that's involved. If any of you still have questions or thoughts or concerns, we have Sister Johnson, the Relief Society president. You can reach out to her, or Brother White, the Elders Quorum president, or the bishop, or any in the bishopric, or myself, and we'd be glad if you would like further information to get you connected with people that can answer questions or check things out for you. So anything else? We good? We'll have a closing prayer. Sister Hershey has volunteered to give the closing prayer.
Heavenly Father, we're so grateful that we've been able to be here tonight, and we're so grateful again for those who have come to share this very valuable information with us, and for those who have helped to make this night possible. We're so grateful to feel the support of our community around us and know that we are also here to support each other. And we pray that we'll be able to feel thy peace surround us, that we'll be able to be open to any inspiration that comes as to what we need to do to keep ourselves safe and to help us to feel more comfortable and to take action to put those things into place. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.